everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast and wish you a very Merry Christmas. And today is going to be super fun. We are going back to the classics and we are talking about our favorite classic Christmas movies. And by classic, we decided we mean before 1970 is how we divided it. And just like we did with the musicals, we'll be doing a classics episode ranking, and then we'll be doing a modern episode ranking, and it'll be super fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner. Terry's here.
Hello.
How are you doing?
A little under the weather, but I'll bear through it.
You're hanging in there.
I'm hanging in by a thread, Rachel.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it very much. How did you come up with, did you have any method to your madness in coming up with your list?
No, for the classic, I said I'm going to put them on the way that I enjoy them and the ones that I watch regularly. You know, that it's like a go-to staple when you're tired of the TV madness and you need a cleanser, you know.
Yeah.
You can go to one of these. But
yeah, and you're a big classic movie fan, right? You're a big TCM
yes.
and the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's just dive in. Let's get started. What do you have at number 12?
I have The Man Who Came to Dinner. I think we talked about this one before. I'm not sure. It's from 1942. It has Betty Davis in it. It's Monty, Woolley, and Sheridan. It is a cast of many, but basically, this famous, very jerkish kind of a man. He's a radio host. He's on a tour, and it's about Christmas. And they set up sort of this publicity dinner to have at some prominent man's house. But he falls in front of the house and hurts his leg. And so the family's like, hey, stay here while you get better. And he's in a cast, but he commandeers the whole entire house. And he's going to broadcast his famous Christmas Eve special there. And Betty Davis is his put upon assistant. And he starts, running the house, giving ideas to the people's kids. He invites all his friends over. He just completely takes it over. And Betty Davis starts a relationship with a journalist who's covering this man's visit. And he cannot stand that, she might leave him. So he sabotages their burdening love. And eventually it all comes to head. And, and he's got to, by the way, he's faking halfway through it. He can walk. He's faking because he's just very comfortable bossing everybody around. But by the end, his heart opens just a smidge for Christmas to allow Betty Davis to fall in love, but everybody else has to suffer, but he'll allow that. It's a comedy. It's pretty funny. And Betty Davis really didn't do a lot of Christmas movies. So
yeah, I've never seen this one. So that's definitely one I have to catch up on. Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I think I don't think it's one of her more remembered roles. She doesn't have that prominent of a role in it, but it has a great supporting cast.
Yeah. Well, my number 12, I went back and forth on this one, but I decided to go with Holiday Affair. Number 12. It's one that I think is very influential on the Hallmark style of movies. And so people, I think, so I wanted to include it because I do think that the Hallmarkies will really enjoy it. And my biggest hesitation on this one is that the little kid is really grating, very annoying.
Yeah,
this little kid. He's like, but
what was the director who said never work with children or animals? I can't remember who he was.
Yeah,
classic film director.
Right. Yeah, it was like,
so this is a perfect example of that.
Yes. But Robert Mitchum is so good in this. He's so funny.
He is
weird. His character, but in a like really funny way. So basically this stars Janet Leigh, and she plays the single mom who is like a comparison shopper. So she's shopping, buying all these things, but then she's immediately going to return them once she finishes. She buys this train she has this little son, and Robert Mitchum kind of catches her when you see what she's doing, and then he ends up getting fired for giving her this discount and accepting the return and everything. Anyway, and and so they kind
She's
of get thrown.
hustling before it was hustling.
Yeah.
She's
So
hustling before it was hustling.
yeah, exactly. And so she's dating this guy, but she's not really that into him. It's just kind of convenient. And the best part of this whole movie is the ending when Robert Mitchum stands up, he gives this toast, and he's like, "I couldn't love whatever the guy's name is more if he was my own brother." Like, but I'm in love with Janet Leigh. I'm in love with her. I'm sorry.
Amen.
That's it.
He had to tell his truth.
Yes, he did. It's
He had to say his
really,
truth.
I mean, you see the guy's expression like, what? And
Yes, this is an inspiration for 1,000 Hallmark movies.
it really is. The meet cute, the time they have to spend together, all of that. It's a lot of fun. People should check it out.
Yeah.
So what do you have at 11?
I went with the March of the Wooden Soldiers with
Oh,
Laurel and Hardy. I think
I
they
haven't
call
seen.
it Toyland today, though. I think they changed the name.
Uh-huh.
It's just something that I grew up with, watching every year on TV during the holidays. It's not really that Christmassy, but it is a Christmas staple. And they're in Toyland. They gotta save that shoe from the evil guy. What was his name? Barnaby, right? Who wants to forcefully marry Bo Peep, and he
Mm.
frames her boyfriend, and the toy maker who's like Santa. They got to use his wooden soldiers to. I mean, this is crazy because Barnaby ends up having a mass invasion of Toyland. Like this movie's bonkers, but in such a good way, and it's amazing because it's one of those movies that I kind of wish I was there in the theater when it came out in 1934 to see everybody's expression. Like this is old hat today, but this was all new back then, with the special effects and the
Mm-hmm.
miniatures and getting away with all that grandness.
I've never seen this one either.
Oh, oh gosh, my
So,
brother just gave me a note. It's Babes in Toyland. My bad.
oh, okay. So I have seen it. Yeah.
No, yeah, there's a remake of it, but they also call this one now Babes in Toyland. My bad. This is the
Hmm.
original, which was
Okay.
they've
Yeah.
changed the
So
name
then
so
I
many
have
times
seen
in this
that.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Disney did a remake of it in the '60s, I think.
Mm-hmm. Isn't Annette Funicello in that? I think in the
Yes.
remake. Yeah. Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies. All right. Well, mine next one might be a little bit obscure, but it's called Grand Illusion. This is a French film, and this is a part of the Criterion collection. So people that are big Criterion heads might know about it. But this is really it's a Christmas film, the last third, but it's such an important part of the movie. And basically, the movie is about these soldiers. It's it was made in 1937, so it's about World War One. And you have these French soldiers who are taken prisoner in Germany, and particularly there's two. One is Jewish, and one is not. And they end up, for the last third of the movie, they end up in Germany, and they've both gotten injured, and so they are discovered or found by this woman named Elsa, who is a single mom. She has a daughter, and they end up, the three of them, well, the four of them with the girl, they end up spending Christmas together, and it's really quite moving. And the Jewish soldier Rosenthal, he helps Elsa to make this nativity, that and helps her set up and carve the nativity. And the Marechal, the French soldier, and Elsa end up falling in love, even though they speak different languages. And it's just really good. It's a great movie, beautifully shot,
I've never
beautifully
seen this
made.
one.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
I gotta
But
check this one out.
yeah, particularly that last act. I always kind of like it when one of these movies sort of sneaks in. It's like, oh, you didn't think this was a Christmas movie, but surprise, it is. And that's the way this was.
It's the secret holiday film, the secret Christmas movie.
Yeah. And at the end, they end up crossing into Switzerland together. And well, they leave Elsa, and then the two soldiers cross into Switzerland where they'll be safe. And it's a really good movie. And it's one that you watch and you think, okay, this could have been made like now. Totally. As far as the filmmaking, it really holds up quite well. And it's directed by Jean Renoir, probably, and so he's a famous French director. And evidently, that Orson Welles said that this was one of two movies he would take with him on the Ark.
Ooh,
yeah, so that's high praise.
High praise indeed.
Yeah, so it's really good. Okay, what do you have at 10?
I have The Lion in the Winter.
Okay.
Which I think go ahead.
I haven't seen it, but I have seen the play.
Yes. And I think a lot of people forget it's a Christmas movie. It's set during the holidays. It's Henry II. Yeah, it's Henry II. And basically he takes his wife, his queen, Eleanor, as she's in she's a prisoner essentially. And it's a historical fiction. But basically, it's a whole dysfunctional family meal at Christmas where they're debating who shall inherit his throne out of his remaining sons.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of this. But man, Katharine Hepburn won an Oscar for this. She's incredible. Just watch it for her. Peter O'Toole plays King Henry. And it's got a very young Anthony Hopkins in it. And Timothy Dalton, too. Like, they're baby-faced in this movie. And it's from 1968, I believe. Yeah. And I don't know. It's just, if you love those type of, clearly it's a play, but if you just love that type of word play, it's like incredible to watch. The performances. Yeah. It's great.
Well, at least with the play, like it's pretty bold for that time period. Like one of the sons is gay, and it's kind of dealt with. Things like that. So
yeah, it's touched upon in the film as well as it would be in like 1968, but I think they do a pretty good job in translating it.
Yeah, and he has a mistress, and so there's sort of the back and forth between the mistress and the wife. And,
totally. All based in reality. It's like you would think it was made up, but a lot of it is truth for that time period.
Yeah.
His long-suffering queen.
Well, my number 10 is a favorite of many's. I have White Christmas at number 10. And I mean, and
Yeah.
it's a classic
Yeah.
for so many reasons. Of course, you got the great dancing. You've got so many good numbers. Obviously, White Christmas, Count Your Blessings, the best things happen while you're dancing. All of that. The only reason that it's not higher is just because it does feel a little long at moments. You know, these
Yes.
musicals of that era were a little a little
They were
indulgent.
lavish and long, but
Yes.
glorious though.
Yeah. And the minstrel number is just not great. And so it does get a
No.
little bit of a bump down in that, but it's a great rom-com. And the end when all the soldiers are there for their general is really sweet, and will follow the old man
Yeah.
wherever he wants to go. So
So good. And there's so
yeah.
much chemistry between the four of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
very, very enjoyable.
Yeah. So it was my number 10. So what do you have at 9?
I have the Bishop's Wife.
Mm.
How to Put Cary Grant here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have a classic list without him. But it kind of makes me laugh because David Niven is so obsessed. I mean, obviously he's the bishop and he's so obsessed trying to get this old lady to pay for this grand cathedral he wants built.
Right.
He's ignoring his family at Christmas. Cary Grant's an angel trying to help him out, see the light of day. And everybody likes Cary Grant better than David Niven, and it drives him bonkers. And it's just very funny between the back and forth between them and his jealousy over his wife. And well, I'd be
Yeah.
jealous over Cary Grant too, but
Yeah.
and it's just funny. It's funny.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a very
And
sweet
you
movie.
swoon over Cary Grant.
Yeah, and I do think it works better than The Preacher's Wife, even though I like that as well. But The Preacher's
It does,
Wife,
yes.
it's harder because you feel such chemistry between Denzel and Whitney that you
That was
really
so
want them
hard.
to
I
be
was like,
together. You don't
yeah,
want her to be with Courtney
it's
Vance.
true. It's true. That's so sad. It's true. I felt that way too. It's like, oh no.
But you're not feeling that
but
the same with Cary Grant and I forget who the lady is.
no,
Yeah, in Bishop's Wife.
no, but I do love David Niven just losing it. Like, why does everybody love him? What about me?
Yeah, it's good. Well, and especially for this era to have a character, a religious character that's flawed, in the way that David Niven's character is in this, and
yeah,
he has a whole growth arc, is different. You don't tend to see that in movies from this era, I don't think.
It's true.
Yeah, it didn't make my list, but I do enjoy it. It's a good one. Yeah. Well, my number 9 is a little bit obscure. People might not know it, but I really do love it. It's Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, and I've never watched an episode of Mr. Magoo, so
I was this close to putting this on my list, but I thought, I don't know if anybody's gonna remember it. I was this close because we loved Mr. Magoo growing up. Mm-hmm. My mother, and my sister and I, we would all watch that. We loved Mr. Magoo, and I do remember his Christmas adventure, and him driving while he's blind, he can't see.
It's fun. There's not that much with him as far as him being blind or visually impaired. It's just the very beginning. He crashes into the theater, and but it's your Christmas Carol, and the thing that really makes it set apart for me, at least, is the animation. I absolutely love. It's got that kind of Art Deco style to it. That's really, really. It looks like a caricature, like a cartoon, like a comic from.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love that, and then I love the songs. Are really wonderful, and it's by the same team who did the Bells Are Ringing and other Broadway musicals, and you got your razzleberry the razzleberry dressing. Thanks. And
oh man,
yeah, I really enjoy it.
It's adorable.
Yeah. Let's see.
You would love the short too. If you go back and watch any of the shorts, it's the same type of style, animation style, the same gist. It's like, oh, people,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I thought like people have forgotten Mr. Magoo, I
Mhm.
think.
There's a song called Alone in the World, which is really beautiful. Another one called Winter Was Warm, which is really beautiful. And this is just a short, it's like 45 minutes, 53 minutes is what it
Yeah.
says on Wikipedia. But I think it was one of the very first animated Christmas shorts. It first aired in
Oh, I do miss that.
1962.
I do miss that era of when the animated shorts used to premiere on TV. Like
Yeah.
we have so many great ones. You know, they still do, but it's just not the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I do too. I
Yeah.
was to think. Well, when we were talking about the Jingle shorts for
Oh yeah.
Hallmark,
Yeah.
I'm glad they've had at least one animated special in their Christmas lineup in the
Yeah.
past. But it'd be nice if we had more of that. Like
Totally.
last
Agree.
year on Disney Plus, there was a really cute Mickey Saved Christmas little stop motion
Yes, I
animated
remember
short,
that.
and I really enjoyed it
Apparently
because
they, yeah. Yeah, it was cute, but apparently they have an extended version of that this year on Disney Plus.
oh really? Well, it was just fun to
Yeah.
see. It was fun to see all your favorite characters in stop motion. I never seen Mickey
Oh yeah, I
do
know it
things
was
like that
adorable.
in clay. That was fun. But yeah, if people haven't seen it, you should check out Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. It's interesting because they just skip Christmas present. They go Christmas past, and then they go
Yes.
right to future. So that's
They only have but so
interesting.
much time.
Yeah,
They got a time limit.
yeah. All right, what do you have at 8?
My eight, I think, is going to be much higher on your list. It is Christmas in Connecticut
Mm-hmm.
with Barbara Stanwyck. And this movie's a lot of fun. It's just, she writes about cooking articles and all stuff, but she's a faker. She don't know how to do any of it. And her boss is like, oh, we got to host a traditional Christmas dinner for this war hero, and shenanigans ensue. And it's just so much fun. And
Yeah.
I know you love this movie.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and really, this is the ancestor to Hallmark movies. I mean, so you have
Yes.
this woman who writes this column, like a Martha Stewart kind of column, but she really is
Yeah.
terrible at all that stuff. Terrible at all the homemaking and doesn't have family. And then there's this soldier. He wants the ideal Christmas in Connecticut, and so they scheme that they're going to pretend. And my favorite part is the fact that the women keep bringing the women from the town keep bringing their babies, and
Oh my
so
gosh, yeah.
each day there's a different baby, and he's like, this is a
It's a new
different
baby.
baby. And she's like, no, it's not. He's like, yes,
The rotating babies. And he's
yeah.
like, what's going on here? Am I losing it?
Yeah,
Did you ever see the remake that Arnold
I
Schwarzenegger
need to.
directed?
Yeah, Arnold
Uh,
Schwarzenegger
it
directed.
is, yeah, it's a trip. I think Chris Christopherson. He's not a
Your
war hero.
favorite.
Yeah, it's him. Yes, my favorite. Yeah, I love me some Chris Christopherson. And he's not a war hero. He's just he saves somebody.
Yeah.
And Tony Curtis is in it. He's the boss. They rent this whole house. I can't remember who else is in it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's fun, but it doesn't have the same, you know, they don't have a rotating baby. They just don't have. It's funny, but
Oh.
it doesn't hold up to the original. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I'll have to check it out. I'm really excited this year. Pioneer Theater Company, which is one of our equity companies here in Utah, is doing Christmas in Connecticut. And
Ooh.
one of my theater critic friends, Tim Leninger, he reviews theater in Connecticut and New York, and he reviewed this production last year in Connecticut, and he was very positive about it. And since I love the movie, I'm really excited to see what they do with that on stage. I think it'll be really fun. So We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's The Trouble with Mistletoe by Jennifer Snow. It is the first of the Brook Hollow series. In best-selling author Jennifer Snow's sweet, wholesome Christmas romance, The Trouble with Mistletoe, our heroine learns that you can't say no to a mistletoe kiss, no matter who's under it. Since leaving Brook Hollow and her fiancé Luke Dawson 12 years earlier, Victoria Mason hasn't looked back. She's traded the small-town dream of marriage, kids, and family Christmas dinners for late nights working at a high-powered acquisitions firm, lunches at trendy New York restaurants, and jet-setting vacations on the slopes. So her latest work assignment to acquire Brook Hollow's sporting goods store poses a challenge for Victoria in more ways than one, because it's almost Christmas and she's got other holiday plans, and the owner is reluctant to sell, and the owner is Luke. She needs to wrap up the deal before she gets caught up in her old life and her old love, or becomes trapped under the mistletoe again. You can find The Trouble with the Mistletoe by Jennifer Snow wherever you purchase your holiday reads, or use the affiliate link in the description below. All right. Well, my number 8 is where I have Meet Me in St. Louis.
That is my number 7.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Judy Garland fan. This is one of her career highlights. There's so many great songs. Boy Next Door, the Trolley Song. Margaret O'Brien is so good as
Oh,
Trudy.
I know,
yeah. And when Judy sings "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," which is my favorite Christmas song.
Breathtaking.
Yeah,
I know, just the way it's framed, and Vincent Minnelli really knew how to do all of that. And I can't remember who the cinematographer was, but the way it's framed, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's memorable.
Agreed. And when she goes out and destroys the snow.
I know. It's like
snow cake. And
very elaborate snowman that she built.
Evidently, she said that because people had said that someone told her that her dog died, and she said, I guess at TCM, she said, no, that my mother would never do that. And so how they were able to get her to be so upset and so authentic is really impressive.
She was a great child star.
She was.
She was great.
Mm-hmm. And the whole family it's just really fun. You got to feel for the dad. He's just trying to help, support his family, and he's the villain.
He's a villain because he's going to move.
He's going to move.
I mean, look at all the daughters he had. And back in It's a Period piece, he had to have a dowry for all his daughters. He's got a lot of daughters.
Yeah.
He's got to support all them kids.
Yeah, I think it's like 4 or 5 plus one son. And
yeah.
So it's
plus the one son. So he's got to support all the kids. Yeah.
And they incredible costumes. And I love the whole scene when Judy beats up John. Confused about because Trudy said that there's this whole thing with Halloween, and says that John beat her, even though she didn't, and there's this accident on the train. Anyway, it's a lot going on. So she runs over there, and she's
a stinker sometimes now.
Get on a little girl. He's like, would you come over and beat me up? He's like, it's more fun to get beat up by a girl.
Yeah, and the trolley song is my absolute favorite.
Yeah,
of course, I was the little chubby kid, the little fat kid running around singing the trolley song during lunch when everybody else was, doing something cooler. But I was like, this is cool in itself.
Clang, clang, clang with the trolley. Yeah,
trolley. I think I could still sing it from memory. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of
I used to do the hand movements and the facial expressions. I was like,
yeah. So let's see. So you have that at 7.
Yes.
My number 7 is The Shop Around the Corner, and it's
I have that a bit higher.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I just barely saw She Loves Me last weekend, and which is another version of this same story. The perfumery story, it works. It's just a great story.
It does.
The idea of 2 people falling in love over their words, and they don't know they're in love with each other. They hate each other in real life, but it just works.
It just works. And there's a seriousness in this movie too, with the boss and his cheating wife and trying to kill. So But despite that serious element of that going on, it's still a delightful movie. It's
Yeah.
still delightful. Jimmy Stewart is great. He has great chemistry with Margaret Sullivan.
Yeah. And
And I just recently rewatched this.
yeah,
And
I
I
did
think that's
too.
why it got higher. Regency bias went a bit higher on my list. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
And every remake of it has its highs and lows, but
Hmm.
there's something enjoyable in every version.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think this one, it's funny because I had You've Got Mail on the short list for modern, but I don't really think of that one as a Christmas movie. But this one I do think
No.
of as a Christmas movie, because I think what helps with this one is that the last act, including the finale, is all on at Christmas,
All
all on Christmas.
all of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how they're going to heal their boss. I love that part.
Hmm.
Like, let's make our boss feel better by by making money. And
Yeah.
it's just really funny at
Yeah.
that point. Yeah, make him even more rich. He'll feel better that way.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you haven't seen She Loves Me, they have the Broadway HD Pro Shot. It's worth getting the 7-day free trial and watching it on. It's Zachary
Yeah.
Levi and Laura Benatti. It's so good.
I do have to watch that version. That's the only version I haven't seen
Yeah, it's
of this
really, really,
story.
really, really good.
Yeah.
One of these days, we're going to do a perfumery ranking. I think
Oh
that
yeah.
would be really fun. And that's
Yeah.
the original play. This is people just called perfumery. So what do you have at 6?
I have the A Christmas Carol, but the 1938 version,
Oh,
which
okay.
is
Yeah.
there's so many Christmas Carol versions,
Yeah.
but I think the 1938 version is probably my favorite.
Okay.
And it's basically, Ebenezer Scrooge, getting
Who's
schooled
in
on
that one?
um
So,
Ebenezer is Reginald Owen
okay.
is
Yeah.
is Scrooge in that one. And basically just gets schooled by three ghosts. And I think it still holds up too when you watch it, even though it's 1938, the way they put the ghosts in and Marley shaking his chains. I think it still has that eerie look to it and that feel of it. And this is the version I watched the most growing up, so I have a bit more of an attachment to it because there's like 1,000 versions out there.
Mhm.
But so I picked this one because, you can't have a list without A Christmas Carol on it. You know,
Yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah.
legendary.
Hmm. Yeah, this one's a good one. I'm trying to remember the trying to remember which, the differences between all of them, but I remember enjoying that
Oh, there's
one.
so many. Yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to keep on track, but it's a good one. My number
it's hard
six,
to keep them on track too.
yeah, my
Uh-huh.
number 6 is Desk Set. So I have Desk Set.
Oh, I thought about this one, but it's an honorable mention
Hmm. Yeah,
for
this
me.
is my favorite Tracy Hepburn
Oh yeah,
collaboration.
yeah. Oh,
I
I
do.
can see it.
I
Yeah,
like it better than Adam's Rib. I think that Adam's Rib, I don't know. I just don't think it's as funny as this. I think this is really funny. And basically, this is like a workplace comedy slash rom-com. And it's all set at this office party at Christmas. And they have this giant computer, like literally it takes up the whole room. This computer, and he's kind of like he sort of services the computer, and there's this Christmas party, and it's really funny, and it's written by the parents of Nora Ephron, which is kind of fun,
that's right. Yes,
by
kind of
Phoebe and
forget
Henry
that.
Ephron.
Yeah,
So you can
kind of
see where
forget. I
she
do always forget that she comes from a family of like writers. Yeah,
yeah. So I'd say it's a hidden gem. And if you like, especially if you
totally.
like kind of workplace type comedies, then you'll enjoy it. So
Yeah.
so what do you have at 5?
Uh, this is where I have the shop around the corner.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great.
delightful.
Uh, yeah. My number 5 is Where I Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, I have that higher.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the only Christmas movie that somebody got an Oscar for, I think. So the Edmund Gwenn won an Oscar for
Well,
playing
Catherine Hepburn
Santa.
won. Yeah,
Oh
well,
yeah.
Catherine
Oh,
Hepburn won
that's
for The Lion
true.
in the Winter.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right, he did. He's great in it.
Yeah. Great as the most iconic Santa. And I love Maureen O'Hara and
Totally.
John Payne in this. I think they have really great
Yes.
chemistry. And he's the lawyer
She's
who's
so
going to
stuck up
defend.
too.
Yeah, he's going to defend.
Yes.
Going to defend Santa, and Natalie Wood is great as the
Baby
child.
Natalie Wood, you know.
Yeah, baby Wood. And it's very hopeful. It's very romantic. It's very sweet. Yeah,
It still plays today too with the putting him on trial. Like, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for his sanity. It's like the cynicism in all of it that still plays today.
Yeah, and
but
I would say that this
they
is
have
one
never.
where.
Uh-huh.
No, I'd say this one where I think the remake's pretty good.
I was going to say that I don't think the remakes, because I know there's an obscure either 1980s or 90s remake of this movie out there.
Oh, really?
I know there is. Yeah, I've got to hunt it down. But I don't think the remakes come as close to just getting the charm. Maybe because it's not the remake is present day, correct? Maybe it's just the setting of the 40s that brings out. It's like more believable to do it like in that era, I think.
Yeah,
but
I forget what they changed. They changed it so it's not the letters; it's something different at the end. I can't remember, but it wasn't as good. But I remember thinking this is like an okay, like decent remake.
Listen, and Natalie Wood, being a good girl, got that house. You know, Santa paid off for her. Okay, Santa did her a good one, man. Hey, you want that house? Here's that house.
Yeah,
I mean, he's gonna have to pay for it, you know, the dude. But like, you get that house. So thank you, Santa.
And they look at each other at the end, like, oh, maybe I did do such a good thing at the end.
No, it's a big thank you too for him. You know, like, hey,
yeah.
So.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
What I have, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah.
Classic, the animated version.
Yes.
Boris Karloff narrating it, being the voice of Grinch. It's just a classic. I mean, it's a Dr. Seuss story. It's very close to the actual story, the way the illustrations and everything, the way it's animated.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it lives on because it's just so good. And who hasn't been a Grinch during the holidays?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that if the Who's were just a little quieter, then he'd be fine. And they wouldn't have their stuff. They're so loud.
Totally. They you're right. They weren't considerate neighbors.
Oh.
You know, what his poor dog makes him a reindeer when he does his poor. He's not a very good pet owner. The Grinch is not a very good pet owner. But his heart grows 3 sizes too big, you know. So.
He even takes the last can of Who hash, you know. I mean, he's ruthless.
Oh man. Just looking at that little girl, yeah, I'm taking this tree. You know.
Yeah. That takes the crumb away from the mouse.
Oh man. He really is a Grinch.
Yeah. It's a really good one.
I will not have
the song
I will
is
not
so
have
funny.
joy.
Yeah. I wouldn't touch you with a 39.5-foot pole. And given the choice between the two of you, I'd take the seasick crocodile.
And he is mean though. Like, harsh. You know.
Well, number 4 is where I have my version of Christmas Carol. I think it was actually officially called Scrooge. And it's from 1951. And it stars Al Star Sim, And it's great performance because it brings a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of humor
Yes.
to the character, which I think can work. And I like a truly, truly despicable Scrooge, but I also like a little bit of a winking, a little bit Scrooge as well. And that's what you have here. He was a comedic actor, but he brings a lot to the role. It's so beautifully shot, beautifully made. The cinematography, all that is really good. They try to flesh out Scrooge's story a little bit. They kind of explain how he evolved from being the sort of naive, clerk to being kind of bitter, and how people used
So
him.
sad.
And they tried to kind of explain a little bit about his evolution, which I appreciate. I think that adds a lot, and it's a great movie.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. So what do you have at 3?
This one I have A Charlie Brown Christmas.
Same. I have a 3 also.
Yeah, who doesn't want to see Sad Sack Charlie? Sad Sack Charlie. It's Snoopy.
Yeah.
And all the Peanuts gang have fun. It's really funny because they do have this whole thing about Christmas being commercialized. And I was like, boy, does that really speak today more so?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just gone way overboard than it did when it came out in the 60s. But
yeah, and it's so
that
great.
message still rings true.
When Linus recites Luke 2 at the end.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a truthful moment for the character. And
Totally.
he's just sharing what he believes, and it's just so sweet. And of course you got the iconic Vince Guaraldi music, orchestra music, this was definitely sort of my family's go-to thing to watch at Christmas, like turn on Charlie Brown.
It was wonderful because for so many years it came on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to go to Apple to watch it, like
right.
Apple TV to watch it. But it used to be, so it's a staple in so many people growing up. And that poor little Christmas tree, you were like, it deserves a chance. That's
and
Charlie Brown growing up. I felt like we were soulmates in a sense, because I was like, I feel like I'm Charlie Brown all the time.
Well, he's such like an emotionally true character.
Right.
There's no artifice to him. There's no, he says it, he says how he's feeling. And I think so many of us have felt that way, of like, it just seems like everybody else is enjoying stuff and you're feeling nothing. And why, what can you do about it? And that's what makes Linus, his recitation, so moving.
Yep.
Yeah. So very good. All right. What do you have at 2?
This is where I have Miracle at 34th Street.
Okay, yeah.
It was one of my favorites as a child, continue to be. And I love Maureen O'Hara.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good choice. So this is where I have Christmas in Connecticut. It's just so funny, and I do have it as one of my favorite movies in my Letterboxd. You pick 4, just because I feel like it's emblematic of a kind of movie that I love, and so I was trying to kind of pick one of different kinds. And it's really funny. It's got like all your sort of iconic Christmas romance scenes, then the sleigh and this with the snow falling and scenes like that, decorating the tree and everything with the babies is hilarious. And I like the scene where she's trying to learn how to cook and flip pancakes, and the chef is really funny. And it's just if you like Hallmark movies, I can't imagine anyone disliking this one. You will like it.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit of between war heroes and bakers and cooks and just pretending to be something they're not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, fake engagements. So I think we have the same number 1. I think maybe
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
That's my number 1. Is
Yeah. It's hard to put anything because above it.
George Bailey is having a life. He's having a day. and he's going through it. And when I rewatched that a couple of years ago, I was like, man, his brother is terrible in that movie. He gives up
Oh yeah.
college so his brother could go to college, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll come back to town." Then his brother goes to war. And then when he's supposed to come down so George could go to college and live his life, he's like, "Nah, I'm getting married and working for my father-in-law. Kick rocks." And I was like, "You horrible brother." You know, he didn't appreciate anything that George was doing for him.
Uh-huh.
Poor George getting struck by a man being deaf, just dealing with his drunk uncle, you know. And
Yeah.
of course, Lionel Barrymore was the perfect villain in that movie.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah,
so
I actually
as it always is, the banks are the evilness of it all.
this was just on during when I was this was just on at Thanksgiving where I was at. So I just
Yeah,
watched it this last week. And it really is just such a moving, beautiful. I mean, I debated about which one to have number one, Christmas in Connecticut or It's a
right.
Wonderful Life, because like Christmas in Connecticut is something I would like tune in. It's like it's a little more
Yeah,
rewatchable. But
yes,
I just think that It's a Wonderful Life is just one of the finest films ever made. It's so moving.
totally.
It's so wonderful when he's running down the street. Merry Christmas, movie house.
Yeah. And then
Merry.
also there's a lot of iconic moments, and even today, like the Donna Reed and breaking that record, it has become a
Mm,
meme.
yeah.
Like for people who are like, not today, it has become a meme for breaking that record.
Become a huge thing
No, it
until,
bombed with it. Yeah,
yeah,
television.
until it
Yeah, because it
became,
wasn't released at Christmas.
yeah. And it because they had, because it was free for, I think, for the networks to air.
Uh-huh.
And so they would just
Yes,
put it
because
on, and it grew this following. And it's I was kind of joking the other day that, boy, if they just let this man go on one trip, like a
just
lot of
one trip,
problems.
like he was so stressed. That's something like the brother didn't even go. Let me listen. Let me
Yeah.
work for 2 weeks here.
Yeah.
Go on a vacation. Go on a honeymoon with your wife and your kids.
Yeah.
Or what he does to the school teacher
Oh yeah.
too, because of what the school teacher does to the kid,
Susie's
and he
pedals,
yells at
Susie's
her,
pedals.
George.
Yeah,
I mean, he
it's
needed a day off. I mean, with that drunk uncle too losing all that money, I would have thrown him in the garbage. But yeah,
yeah. Oh,
he
that's
he
so
had the weight of his
stressful
shoulders on. Yeah.
when he accidentally gives the money to Potter. Oh,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Of course, and
yeah.
he's drooling at the mouth. He's drooling at the mouth, going, "Yes, I finally got him." Because uh, this very much like Hallmark, real
Uh-huh.
estate,
Right.
banking, bad.
Yeah.
You know, which
It's
still
the
is
it's
still true today.
it's the most jolly suicide movie ever made.
Oh my gosh, yes. Have you ever
But
seen the colorized version of this movie?
yes, I
Listen, Ted Turner,
I
I
hate
appreciate
that.
him for the TCM and stuff, but he was obsessed with colorizing
I hate
movies,
it
black and
so
white movies back in
much.
the day. And it's like I hate it because it's
Oh,
garish looking. It
yeah, it
doesn't
looks
look well.
terrible.
And I know it's still out there. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I think on Amazon Prime it's the colored version you watch if you rent it. And I'm like, I don't want to rent. I don't want to watch the colored version.
Yeah, that's gross. And a couple of years ago, AMC ran the colorized version of it of A Miracle
Oh,
on 34th Street, and I sent them a very
oh no.
fiery email. I was like,
Oh
that's
man, it's
gross.
so gash dated. Like the skin tone is gross. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't match it. You
Well,
can't.
and this is the thing too, is that it's even more gross when you think that they do it without the permission of the estates or anybody involved, and
Absolutely,
which
yeah,
is even more gross because I mean people that made, because a lot of times they had the option to make it in color, but they chose to make it in black and white, and so
yeah,
you're negating the carefully made choices of everybody involved, and that's just
absolutely.
wrong.
And the costuming choices too, because you would
Right.
choose different fabrics and different colors for black and white, so it
Right.
would play well. You
Right.
know, Edith's head didn't wear those glasses because she needed to see. Those were her glasses so she could see what everything looked like in black and white. You
Right.
know, that she's so
Yeah.
famous for. Yeah, so like everything. So when you just paint over the negative, probably
Yeah.
destroying that movie too, to like
Um,
do whatever you want. Oh, don't
avoid
do it,
it at
people. Don't
all
support that.
costs. Yeah. Don't do it.
I
It's
can't believe they still play those versions though.
Yeah.
Oh,
So Mary Richards, she says Shop Around the Corner is her favorite. And then Amber Sire says It's a Wonderful Life for nostalgic reasons. When I was a little girl, we would watch that movie as a family as we strung popcorn and cranberries for the Christmas tree. As a little kid, I didn't really appreciate the movie as much because it was in black and white. But now it has such a special place in my heart and is really the ultimate of Christmas memories. And then so then Mary Richards, she says Scrooge, Christmas Carol, White Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on 34th Street, Christmas in Connecticut, Meet Me in St. Louis for the Christmas scene in there. Becky Shiber, she says
yeah.
so many, but three I never miss watching during the season: Desk Set, White Christmas, and Christmas in Connecticut. And Caroline, she says Miracle on 34th Street, Rudolph, and Frosty.
But yeah.
Yeah, and neither of us had any Rankin Bass on our list.
No, no. I mean, they're still great, but they didn't cut it for me.
Yeah.
I think there are
So
people out there who love it more than I do.
yeah,
But
I did a Rankin Bass series on my blog before I started my channel, and they their brand of quirkiness gets old real quick. They're fun on their own, but I don't recommend watching them together like I did.
yeah, back to back.
They're really old real quick.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree on that one.
But there we go. That is our rankings. And if you want to be a part of it, check out the Patreon. We'd really appreciate it. And Terry, where can people follow you?
I'm at Twitter or whatever you're calling it now, at Flurry Heaven.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, a Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. Really appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store. So take a look at that. And thanks so much, everybody. And enjoy classic films and let us know what your favorites are. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.